Hey guys, MooJK here with part 3 of my tutorial series. A couple people have told me that it's pretty helpful, at least it's better than nothing. So I'm going to try to talk about a couple things that are really relevant right now and probably for the future as well. This part is going to focus on units or heroes. Basically, which ones are the ones that you want to target, which ones you want to re-roll for, and what makes them good in the first place. So let's get started with discussing the top 5 units in global right now. These are the ones, if you're just starting out. Let me start by talking about what re-rolling is. So right now there is a big, huge kind of a, I don't know what it's called, bonus tier 1 gifts that they're giving out. And this was for people pre-registering and all this stuff, so they're rewarding people until July 17th. Now that is very important because after that date, anybody who starts, let's say somebody starts the game on July 18th, they're out of luck because they're missing out on a huge bundle of stuff. 10 rare summon tickets by itself is crazy. I mean, I think that's like $50 worth or something like that. And just to give you a little background, there are people who are playing before the global launch, maybe a few weeks ago, a month ago, whatever. They downloaded like the Swedish version or whatever, APKs. These people were re-rolling and getting up to 500 lappies and drawing once. And they would redo the re-roll, start all over from scratch, do that again, 500 lappies, draw once, and start over again. All trying to pull at least one elite unit. With the promotion that we have right now, that's 10 rare summon tickets plus a bunch of lappies for like, there's 1,000 here, there's some, apology lappies for maintenance and stuff like that. You're getting to pull 12, 13 times every reroll. So if you don't get an elite unit now, you might regret it later unless you're gonna be willing to spend money. Anyway, let me talk about who the elite units are. I don't have all of them. I only have one of them, really. The top 5 in global right now, it's pretty much a consensus. It's in some kind of order, but this is roughly the order. Starting from number 1, it's probably Exdeath. 2 through 5 are a little debatable. 2 is probably Cloud of Darkness. 3 is probably Vaan, Paladin Cecil, Bart's, in some kind of order between all those. So again, Exdeath, Cloud of Darkness, Paladin Cecil, Vaan, and Bart's. You want to get one of these 5 units because they really are game changers at this point. Just to kind of illustrate, if you're going through Coliseum, you might be going through it right now feeling really confident about it. But let me tell you, in the beginner level, even, once you get to S rank, if you get to round 5, the S5 boss is really tough. When I got to him the first time, I was stuck on him for like a solid week. And, I was leveling up, doing all this stuff. And the repeated attempts that I, when I tried to beat him again, it didn't really feel like I was making any progress. And then I did a few pulls and I got Bart's. Once I got Bart's, I went in there. The very next time, I beat him. That's how much these people can make a difference. And that was because Bart's, I leveled him up, of course, before I did that. He had Barrage, and the DPS shot through the roof from what I had before. So it's not like a nitpicky thing, like, oh, I'll do fine. How much can those units make a difference, really? They really are powerful, so you want to get at least one of them. If you're really patient, you can maybe get 2, or if you're super lucky, 3, I guess. But I would settle for 1 and at least a couple other decent units. Decent units being like Firian, Kuja, like what I have here. Terra's probably just outside the top 5. She's definitely top 10. Those kinds of units, so you can look it up yourself. Anyway, that was my long-winded introduction to, yes, you want good units, you want to re-roll. I'm not going to get into how to re-roll because people can explain it better than I can, and I kind of don't remember all the details when I was doing it. It has something to do with you know, linking to a Facebook account, probably a dummy one at first, and then if you don't like what you got, then you just log back out, and then when you get back into the game, you'll start over again. And eventually, when you find something that you like, you would log in with your real Facebook account, and you basically make that permanent. Otherwise, you log out, keep repeating the process over and over. So, what makes a character, what makes a hero good? What makes them better than the others? Well, the number one answer is probably their skills. And this means that at level 1, level 5, whatever, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between what's a good unit, what's a bad unit. But when they talk about, the top 5 units and all that stuff, they're kind of assuming that you're maxing them out. You're making them 5 stars, you're, level 80. And a side note, not all of these units, even the rare ones, even get to 5 stars right now. Most of them only get to 4, but there are a few that get to 5, and some of those ones that get to 5 are not even good at all. But the ones that are top 5, they all get to 5 right now. And then in Japan, I'd say most of them or all of them get to 6 stars. So yeah, the number one answer is skills. To illustrate Bart's skills, let's take a look at him. And he's at level 80. And don't pay attention to the resistances and stuff like that. I think a lot of that has to do with my equipment. So he doesn't have a lot of magic. I mean, I guess reducing all elemental resistance for one enemy, that might be okay. The other stuff is just, you're never going to use it. Oh, that's from the Esper anyway. But look at his special abilities. He has auto potion, which I guess in some situations could be annoying because you're like, where did my potions go? But if you're just autoing and doing easy stuff, you're not going to really need potions anyway, so you won't have to worry about that. But he counters naturally, which is, nice bonus damage. It's not like a game changer or anything like that, but it's nice. He recovers his own HP while walking. That's really going to make a difference when you're exploring. It's not going to do anything when you're, in a dungeon. He boosts his defense and SPR, I don't know what that is exactly. I think it has to do with magic resistance. But look at this, Barrage. Attack 4 enemies chosen at random. That's like 4 times the amount of damage that a normal attack would do. And it's only 16 MP, so he can spam this over and over, and that's like crazy DPS. And Trust, I mean, I guess if somebody on your team has a killer limit break, you can, transfer some of this gauge to that person. He boosts his own attack and stuff like that, but really it's just Barrage, and he has a lot of nice passives. If you have somebody like Cloud of Darkness, she's basically a damage boosted version of Bart's. She has Barrage as well, but she also boosts her own attack a lot. She has natural resistance to a lot of elements. It's just crazy. She even has random stuff like Protectga, and so that's the reason why these units are good. Furian's pretty good actually. He's probably top 10, top 15 at least. He has things like Blade Bash, which is damage and paralyze. And that paralyze isn't negligible. It's like 30%, which comes in handy even with bosses. A lot of bosses right now are susceptible to paralyze. And obviously having the boss not move for a few turns is going to really help you out. Blade Blitz, this is one of my favorite abilities as well. If there's like 3 or 4 enemies on the screen, he'll attack all of them. So this is the kind of thing that makes units stand out from the rest. In fact, let me go ahead and show you what a bad unit looks like. Now, Shadow's not quite maxed out, but he's only missing 1 skill, and I know what it is, so I can just explain it to you. So he maxes out at 4 stars right now. He looks really cool. I know a lot of people probably think he's good because he looks cool, and they have him as their leader, but look at his skills. What among these skills is actually going to help you? I mean, it can escape most enemies. When are you going to need that? Caster can dodge 2 attacks. Okay, that's great. He's keeping himself alive, but what about the rest of the team? Where is he putting out damage? He boosts damage against bird monsters. I mean, come on. And his last skill, see how there's a question mark thing here, and it tells you that you're going to acquire it at level 60. That is Shadow Bind, which is a 30% chance to paralyze, which is his first useful skill. But if you think about it, there are people, even like Cyan, Furion, Cyan, a couple others, they have Blade Bash, which not only does 30% paralyze, but also has attack damage. Like I think it's like 80% attack damage or something like that. So they're hurting the boss or hurting the enemy and stunning, whereas Shadow is only trying to paralyze and has nothing else really to put out DPS. So I mean, this is an example of a really bad unit. He actually might be one of the worst rare units that we have. So that's what I'm talking about, where it's like night and day if you have good units versus bad units. Let me also talk about free units that might be good. Fina here is a free unit. She's part of the main storyline. She's a main character, and she's free. You get her just from doing the story dungeons. And look at her. She's 5 stars. She's a good healer. She has all these things, like stuff like blind poison. You might think that kind of stuff is not that useful, because I know in Final Fantasy games you're just kind of like, oh, do I really have to waste a turn just to get rid of that? But in this game, you really don't want to be poisoned. It'll wreck your HP really fast. You don't want to be blinded, obviously. So it's nice to have, but she has Cura, recover HP for all allies. That's really useful. Firaga, if you need to have heavy healing on one person. You can cleanse of all disease and all this stuff. Protect and Shell, I'm not too crazy about, because it's just one ally, and there's ways to, do it to the whole party. But yeah, she has Cura, and her best move probably is Cheer. It's at 48 MP, but it boosts attack and defense for all allies. I mean, that's really, really useful. She also has Entrust as well, so it's a little bit like redundant with Bart's, I guess, but I mean, Cheer and Cura alone make this unit really good. So it's nice that she's free. Also, I guess a lot of people ask about Rain and Laswell. They are actually pretty decent. I mean, they're average right now. Laswell's probably a little bit better in Global. He puts out a little bit more damage. He has, some elemental attacks here. Not too crazy about these skills, but he does pretty good damage. And he can equip, probably the strongest sword in the game right now, Murasami, or I think that's what it is. Let's see what the Sparts have. Yeah, well, at least the strongest thing that I have is Murasami. He can equip that. Laswell can put out a lot of damage. Rain is okay for now, but actually in Japan, his 6-star is really powerful. He becomes really good. I think the latest I saw, he was the second strongest support unit, maybe after Ramza. So don't sleep on these guys. That sounded weird, but yeah. So he has Power Break already, which is pretty good. Cover, chance of taking physical damage for an ally, which is one of Paladin Cecil's best skills as well. Paladin Cecil, why don't I just go through what makes the top five as well, just really quickly. So Exdeath, and while I'm doing this, I'll go ahead and farm the Vortex. Or, oh no, the Colosseum. So Exdeath is, by a lot of people's opinions, he's probably the #1 unit. What makes him really good is that he has a lot of Aga spells. Some of these units, especially the ones that are capped out at 4 stars, are stuck at like the raw level, but he has Aga, which is the 3rd tier, so he's doing a lot of damage. He also is able to Osmos and get MP back, because his spells are using a lot of magic points, but if he can get it back, then it's not an issue. He also has Graviga, which I just used on Kuja right there. You saw how it devastated the Colosseum enemies. So he has a lot of good damage, and he has really good stats too. So he's an all-around unit. I know in Japan, once he gets his 6-star, he has Meteor. I mean, he's just really good. So he's arguably the #1 unit right now. Cloud of Darkness, I kind of mentioned her already. She just really, really dishes out the pain. probably, no, not probably, definitely the strongest physical attacker in the game. I think in Japan, Cloud of Darkness might be number 2. I think number 1 might be Lightning right now, but in Global, definitely the strongest. So that's what makes her good. She has Barrage, so she's like a stronger version of Bart's. The only weakness for Cloud of Darkness is probably that she can't equip like a ton of weapons, but she's gonna do it anyway. She's gonna dish out the pain anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Bart's I already showed you guys what makes him good. Paladin Cecil, he can cover. He's the best tank in the game right now, and not only that, but he's the best tank in Japan. So you know that when you get Paladin Cecil, you're future proofed. You're not gonna have to worry about, oh, I'm gonna have to get a tank later, or he's never gonna be obsolete. He's always gonna be the best tank. So he has cover. He also has a very a strong AOE cure, or healing. So yeah, so he's keeping your party alive. Who have I not talked about? Vaan. Vaan is one of the best support characters, but he's not just support. I mean, he's the only character right now in Global that does full break. And if you're aware of what full break does from other games, or Record Keeper, I guess, it basically drops like all the stats of a boss: his attack, defense, magic, resistance, everything, all in one go. So that's Vaan's definitely his best skill. Also, when you're in Coliseum, even when you're questing, you might want to bring a thief to these fights because you want to steal some good materials and things like that. And Vaan is probably, I mean, he's already the best attacking thief, and you don't have to bring a crappy thief that's going to weigh your party down. He'll be, helping your party as well as stealing. That's another thing too, is that if you want to steal materials and things like that, and you don't have a Vaan, you don't have a Zidane or whatever, you will probably have to settle for a free one from this standard summon. And for a while, I was using a 3-star Paul, and let me just show you real quick. But yeah, you'll have to settle for that. And he got the job done. He stole a good amount of stuff for me, but it got to the point where I just didn't want to bring somebody that weak anymore into the Coliseum. I mean, look at his stats. He's really not doing much. But he was useful for a while. But yeah, that's another good thing about Vaan, is that not only does he have full break, not only does he have really good stats. I mean, he has over 3k health and everything, but he's able to steal when you need it. So that's what makes him good. And as a bonus, Terra. I mean, Terra is the only unit in Global that has raise, and it's not rare that your units can die in really tough boss fights. That beginner S5 that I mentioned before can one-shot your mages pretty frequently, so raise can come in handy there. Anyway, this is a really long-winded video, and I apologize, but yeah, I hope it kind of helped you get a sense for what makes a unit good, which ones are the good ones. There are a lot of lists and stuff that tell you what the good units are. I think there's a tier list on a new wiki page that popped up. You'll have to find out which one it is, but yeah. So, oh, by the way, just so you know, Magitech Armor Terra is not the Terra I'm talking about. This is the free one that they gave you, and I think she's actually better than most free units, but the real Terra is not free, and you have to pull her. So yeah, Vivi's pretty good. Shantoto can target any kind of elemental weakness. Fran and Sabin are pretty garbage. Penelo's not that good. Shadow's probably the worst. So anyway, that's it. So